Anita, let us start the event.
Yes, in a minute, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Vinita D'Souza, your host for the day. This webinar will cover an interesting topic, which is currency outlook and cost reducing strategies. We have with us Mr. Amit Pabari, founder and managing director of CR Forex Advisors. Mr. Pabari, we thank you for joining us today to share your insights with our audience. A warm welcome and thank you to all our viewers on Zoom and YouTube for joining us today.
Vanita, your camera is not on.
Sir, actually, there's a small logistic issue and my camera is actually on, but you're not able to see me.
Okay.
Before we move forward, I would like to give you a brief introduction about DRIP. DRIP is a global trade finance company offering post-shipment collateral-free financing to MSME exporters in India. DRIP works with over 1,500 sellers and now 900 buyers across 90 plus countries. We have financed over $2 billion worth of international trade since its inception in 2016. If you'd like to know more about our company and want to receive a call back from us, please feel free to fill the form that we've shared in the chat section right now. A note to the audience, during the webinar, you can make a note of your questions. All the questions will be addressed at the end of this webinar. You will have the opportunity to raise your hand and directly speak with Mr. Pabari. Without any further delay, let's dive into today's session. The market predicts that the US Central Bank, which is the Fed, is likely to hike the interest rates in the March meeting to curb inflation. Amidst all of these growing geopolitical and economic tensions, exporters may be apprehensive about putting their receivables at stake. Choosing an appropriate hedge strategy becomes crucial at this juncture. But if the rates increase, how can exporters hedge their receivables on major currency pairs? We have with us Mr. Amit Pabari to explain the impact further. Mr. Pabari is a founder and managing director of CR Forex. He holds a financial risk manager by the Global Association of Risk Professionals and a master's in finance from ICFAI. He handles a team of experienced FX risk managers who advises and governors over 450 companies having a cumulative multi-billion USD FX volume. His views, quotes, and articles and stories are regularly published by various print media and social media websites like CNBC, Bloomberg, Reuters, Financial Express, Business Standard, Live Mint, Money Control, to name a few. Recently, last October, CR Forex, in association with DRIP Capital, had organized one webinar and shared their outlook on various FX pairs and crude oil prices. He predicted the US dollar index to touch 100. The current levels are at 98, while crude was expected to be in the range of 100 to 115 per barrel, and the current levels are at 112 per barrel. We must take a moment to appreciate Mr. Pabari's prediction. But the question will continue to remain, what next? And hence I ask Mr. Pabari to address our viewers and take it forward from here.
Thank you, Vanita. Thank you for your brief introduction. Without any delay, let us start today's presentation. Let me share my screen. Am I audible?
Yes.
Vanita, yeah.
Yes,
you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
That's great. That's great. So without any delay, let us start today's presentation.
Mr. Pabari, you have to hold 1 second, sorry.
Hello. Yeah.
Mr. Pabari, you can view the poll section.
Yeah, I can view the poll section. Everything seems good. Thank you. Can I start now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in today's presentation, we are gonna cover 4 things. सबसे पहले, what is the outlook on dollar index and crosses like Euro USD and GBP USD? What is the view on USD INR pair, and what are the hedging strategies for exporters and importers? A lot of exporters has been asking us that there is no interest rate subvention, so how we can reduce our interest cost. That we will be discussing in the third part of the presentation. And finally, in the last part of the presentation, we'll be covering how to reduce their banking cost for exporter and importer. Before we start today, let me tell you few things. I will try to keep today's presentation as simple as possible. There will be few key takeaways which will help you to manage your currency risks in a better manner. You will get an idea, a bigger you will get, so that you can manage your currency risks in a better manner. Third, at the third part of the presentation, I'll be sharing few cost-saving techniques which will help you to reduce your banking and forex cost. And in order to keep the session interactive, at the end of the session, we will have a Q&A. You can note down all of your questions at the end of the session. I will be happy to answer them all. So let us start. Before we start the presentation, let us start with the poll. The poll is, what is the biggest risk of 2022? What is the biggest risk of 2022? War, inflation, Fed taper, COVID. We have close to 30 more seconds for the poll. Most of the people are typing war and inflation, war and inflation, war and inflation. Last 5 seconds for the poll. Let me share the result of the poll. 45% of the people think it is war, and 44% of the people think it is inflation. So approximately close to 90% of the people are thinking that the war and inflation are the two biggest risks of 2022. I think the audience is absolutely correct. They are the two biggest risks which the entire world is facing at this point of time. Bloomberg did a survey and the answer was same. 31% of the economists were thinking that the inflation is one of the biggest risks, and then 23% war is the biggest risk for 2022. Now that inflation, as you rightly said, that inflation is one of the biggest risks that the entire world is facing in the 2022. Before we start the presentation, let us go back to history. ये inflation का risk जो था, वो कहाँ से आया? वो 2020 का जो crisis था, वहां से develop हुआ inflation. 2020 coronavirus crisis came. All central bank from different part of the world came and started pumping more and more dollars. किसी ने डॉलर्स पंप किए, किसी ने यूरो पंप किए. रिजल्टेंट क्या हुआ कि जो 4 जो बड़े सेंट्रल बैंक्स हैं, यूएस, यूरोप, यूके एंड जापान, सब ने करीब करीब 14 ट्रिलियन डॉलर इकोनॉमी के अंदर पे पंप किए. Whenever they pump this amount of money, सबसे पहला चीज क्या होता है? सबसे पहला चीज ये होता है, इक्विटी market across the globe went up. ये क्यों हुआ? Money was freely available, so money went to a riskier asset like equity. If you see, all the indexes have moved close to 100% from the low which was made in 2020. Nifty 148%, Dow Jones 100%. ये पहला impact था. Second impact, all commodities, coal, gold, everything went up. Crazy. Third impact क्या हुआ? Property prices across the globe has gone up. US and UK, some places, the property prices have gone up by 50 to 80%. With this event, what is the key learning? अगर next 10-12 साल में कभी भी कोई crisis आता है, and then the central bank pumps money, then the first place to invest is equity, then commodity, and then lastly real estate. Now, ये सब था, inflation आया, which we have shared again and again, कि because of inflation, Fed क्या करेगा? जो US का central bank है, they will do tapering. When I say they will do tapering, they will increase the interest rate and then they will buy bonds. Because of that, dollar index will go up, euro will come down, and pound will also come down. ये सब स्टोरी जो था लास्ट वेबिनार में भी बोला, हमारे सब CNBC के आर्टिकल में भी लिखा, यूट्यूब के चैनल में भी बताया, ये ओल्ड स्टोरी है. ये सब तो चल ही रहा था. फेड जो था, they were supposed to increase interest rate close to 150 basis point to 2 basis point. ये पूरे साल पे ये प्रेडिक्शन था. Now, all of a sudden, एक नया क्राइसिस आता है, that is Russia and Ukraine crisis. Fire पहले से था. Now in the fire there is a fuel added. That Russia-Ukraine crisis is not a crisis of two countries. It has a bigger role in the world economy. Let us understand that. सबसे पहला impact रशिया और यूक्रेन का क्राइसिस होगा, that inflation which was there will be added more. Last, अगर हम 2 वीक की बात करें और पूरे 2022 में बात करें, coal, crude oil, natural gas, metals, they have all gone up. And with this crisis, you know, the prices will be at a higher level only. Prices will not come down, क्योंकि रशिया जो है वर्ल्ड का 12% oil supply करता है. US is thinking that they might put a sanction on Russia for oil export. यूक्रेन जो है वर्ल्ड का 4th largest wheat exporter है and 3rd largest corn exporter है. तो ये सब commodities जो है, it will be in a bull run. So we are entering into a phase where inflation is gonna be permanent. If inflation is there permanent basis पे, so we are entering into a zone where interest rate will be higher and higher and higher day by day. सब जगह पे पूरे वर्ल्ड पे interest rate बढ़ेंगे. When interest rate rises across the globe, then equity market across the globe will underperform. इसके वजह से आप देख रहे होंगे जो निफ्टी 18,000 था वो 16,000 के आसपास में आ गया है. Because of that reason, when interest rate rise, equity market, global equity market will fall. Because of that, it is falling. Now this Russia-Ukraine crisis का और एक impact होगा. It will make TXY more and more stronger. Let me tell you why. You know, we get a lot of WhatsApp every day. Messages भी आते हैं कि जो बिडन है वो कुछ काम का नहीं है, बहुत पैसिव है. But I think Biden is a very seasoned politician, and as far as I can read his mind, he is playing his cards very well. Let me tell you how he is playing his cards well. Vanita, you want to say something?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, okay. Let us go back to history. We all know that World War II के बाद में US has become a dominant power. Now let us understand how US has become a dominant power after World War II. World War II करीब करीब 5-6 साल चला. It started in 1939 and 1945-46 तक चला. तो वॉर के जो पहले 2 साल थे, यूएस जो था बहुत ही स्मार्टली प्ले कर रहा था. बहुत सारे कंट्री लड़ रहे थे. यूएस had kept himself isolated from the rest of world. They were doing two things. First, they were focusing on their economy. They were into an industrial revolution at that point of time. Second, they were making arms and ammunition at the highest level and making their economy stronger and stronger. ये जो बिडेन साहब है वो भी ऐसा ही कर रहे हैं. वो कहते हैं कि वॉर करूंगा, मैं अपने ट्रूप्स को भेजूंगा, पैसा खर्चा होगा. क्यों करने का? Without spending a single dollar, he has put sanction to Russia, making him weaker and weaker. वो कहते हैं कि if you want to win a war, it is not important that you go and fight in the war. If you want to make someone weak, make them economically weak. ये वो यही कर रहे हैं. अफगानिस्तान से भी उन्होंने ट्रूप्स को स्मार्टली वापस कर दिया. रशिया यूक्रेन के टेंशन पे भी सैंक्शन डाला, अपने ट्रूप्स को भेजा नहीं. This is the reason why what will happen. US will become stronger and stronger. इसका इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट देखेंगे हम. वर्ल्ड के 5 बड़े इकोनॉमी है. एक यूएसए है, एक चाइना है, यूरोप और यूके है, जापान है. Because of this crisis, what will happen? Russia and Europe, who are having a trade of $179 billion, यूरो का हर साल का उनका ट्रेड है, वो ट्रेड प्रॉब्लम पे आएगा. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट यूरो विल बिकम वीकर. रशिया has the highest, UK and Europe has the highest dependency on Russia's oil and gas. Because of that, they will face a heat. Now, this three economy, because of war, will face huge fiscal deficit. अगर आप देखेंगे, Europe has said they were gonna spend $100 billion in arms and ammunition. ये कहाँ से आएगा? ये सब US से आएगा. So, if you see in this crisis, US will become more superpower. US and China will become more superpower. Because of that, DXY will go higher and higher. ये करंट स्टोरी है. हिस्ट्री में जाते हैं. ये मैंने बहुत बार बोला भी है अलग अलग प्लेटफॉर्म पे कि जब भी क्राइसिस आएगा, डॉलर इंडेक्स हैज टू बिकम स्ट्रॉन्गर. स्ट्रॉन्गर क्यों होता है डॉलर इंडेक्स क्राइसिस के टाइम पे? लोग इसको ऐसा कहते हैं कि इट इज ट्रीटेड एज अ सेफ हेवन. वो इक्विटी से पैसा निकाल के वो गोल्ड ये डॉलर लेंगे, यूएस का बॉन्ड लेंगे, इसीलिए डॉलर इंडेक्स गेट स्ट्रॉन्गर. नाउ इफ डॉलर इंडेक्स गेट स्ट्रॉन्गर, व्हाट विल हैपन? अब तक का स्टोरी क्या कवर किया है? इन्फ्लेशन इज द बिगेस्ट कंसर्न. फेड जो है, दे आर गोना डू टेपरिंग, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट दैट. उसकी वजह से डीएक्सवाई स्ट्रॉन्गर होगा. नाउ व्हाट आर द लेवल्स वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग इन डीएक्सवाई? जो हमारे क्लाइंट नहीं है, आई रिक्वेस्ट देम टू मेक अ नोट of this point. It is very important. DXY, which is trading at 98 today, will definitely move to 102 and above. Dollar index, which is trading at 98, is definitely moving towards 102 and above. Then Euro USD, which is currently trading close to 1.0 level. You know, जब पीपीटी बनाया था वो 1.1 के लेवल पे था. इट हैज कम डाउन ड्रास्टिकली इन लास्ट 24 आवर्स. सो 1.11 का जो लेवल है, नाउ इट विल मूव टुवर्ड्स 1.08 लेवल. पाउंड भी के भी लेवल्स 1.34 से इट विल मूव टू 1.28 levels. So we see that euro and pound will be going down drastically. Now, definitely, if euro and pound are going to go down drastically, then if you are an exporter who has a remittance in euro and pound, उसको क्या करना चाहिए? Preferably, if you have a receivable in euro and pound, there are two things what you have to do. First, preferably book in 2 legs. मतलब euro USD एक लेग पे बुक करें. Second, USD INR afterwards book करें. पहले euro USD book करें at the current level, and USD INR, if it goes up, then you book. Similarly with GBP USD also, you book at current level and USD INR after some time. Because if dollar index goes up, dollar rupee pair will also go up. And a small request, do not wait. If you have got a confirmed order, just go and book your dollar and pound order. Do not wait. Now, you are keeping your INR leg open because it will go higher. Definitely, this is a question which a lot of people will ask, where dollar rupee pair will move. Before we move to that, let us take a poll from the audience. Where do you see USD INR in next 6 months? In the range of 73 to 75, between 75 to 77, above 77. I was repeating the question because there are few who are joining us from YouTube and LinkedIn also. I think we have more exporters in the audience. Over 73, 75 का जो voting percentage है, that is only 5%. Let me, we have 5 more seconds for the poll. Let us share the result of the poll. 54% लोग कह रहे हैं कि ये 75 से 77 के बीच में रहेगा. 40% लोग ऐसा कह रहे हैं कि it is gonna move above 77. Now let me share the view of CR Forex team. Before discussing the view, let us analyze what are the factors which is gonna affect dollar rupee pair. In the domestic side, we have fiscal deficit, trade deficit, FII ka data, RBI ka stance. In the international factors, there are two major factors, DXY and crude oil. DXY, we have discussed that right now, a dollar index, because of Russia-Ukraine crisis, because of Fed tapering, is gonna move towards 102 levels. That is sure. Now let us see where the crude oil prices are heading. Crude oil prices are also gonna move higher and higher. Crude oil, we are expecting it to move towards $128 per barrel, first target. Second target is $147. ये first target, ये दो target है. Now let us understand ये crude ऊपर क्यों जाएगा. रशिया जो 12% of the total production करता है crude का, US is gonna put sanction into it. Definitely there are talks that जो ईरान है वो उसका sanction हटा देंगे, पर ईरान जो है वर्ल्ड का 3% से भी less they produce and they export, they'll be able to export. So there is gonna be a huge difference between the demand and the supply, which will take the crude oil prices to higher. Now, if the crude oil price goes to higher level, what impact it will have on our country and our currency? आरबीआई का स्टैंड ऐसा है कि इफ देयर इज अ इंक्रीज इन प्राइस बाय 10%, तो 30% से 30 बेसिस पॉइंट से अपना ग्रोथ वीकर होता है, 20 बेसिस पॉइंट से अपना इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ता है, और अगर $1 क्रूड ऑयल प्राइस का भाव बढ़ता है तो अपना जो करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट है एनुअली इट विल इंक्रीज बाय 1 बिलियन. तो क्रूड वाज एट 90, नाउ इट इज एट ट्रेडिंग एट 120. तो जस्ट इमेजिन वेयर द करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट विल बी. So it will have a negative impact on USD INR pair. Now, let us move to the second factor, fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit मतलब गवर्नमेंट का जो इनकम है और जो एक्सपेंडिचर है, that is more, because of which the government has to borrow money. In the current financial year, which is FY23, they have had an expectation that they are gonna borrow 15 lakh crore. Now 15 lakh crore आप 10 साल का डेटा देखिए, which is highest in last 10 years. It is a huge amount of money. तो अगर आप borrow करते हैं 15 lakh crore, the first thing is it is very difficult to borrow 15 lakh crore. Second, if you are able to take that, if you borrow 15 lakh crore, then as we are entering into a zone where the interest rates will be higher and higher in the coming day, तो उनके जो expenditure है वो भी बढ़ेंगे. That is the second thing, which is a huge risk to the government. Third risk जो है that they have to borrow more, otherwise उनका जो number है 6.4 का, they are definitely gonna miss that number. Why? Because they had a plan that they are gonna do some kind of disinvestment, but because of Russia-Ukraine tension, this investment पॉसिबल नहीं होगा. LIC को IPO नहीं आएगा, बाकी जो भी 4-5 बड़े IPO लाने वाले थे वो भी डिफिकल्ट होगा. फिर टेपरिंग कर रहा है, यहाँ पे जियोपॉलिटिकल टेंशन है, FIR selling, so it is going to be difficult for the government. So fiscal deficit is also a bigger problem for the government. Now let us see where is the trade deficit going. ये भी बहुत बार हमारे YouTube के वीडियो में हमने बोला है कि trade deficit is a concern for the government. Now what is trade deficit? Trade deficit is nothing but your export receivable minus your input. तो वो कितना है? अभी फरवरी का ट्रेड डेफिसिट का डेटा आया था, that is close to $22 billion. अभी $22 billion अभी का सिनेरियो है. आरबीआई के बुलेटिन में देखेंगे तो 22% जो वेट है उनका इंपोर्ट का वो है क्रूड ऑयल पे. क्रूड वाज एट 90 इन द फेब, करंटली क्रूड इज एट 120 बिलियन. तो कंजर्वेटिव एस्टिमेट जो हमको लगता है अगले 8 महीने के लिए, हर महीने उनका जो डेफिसिट रहेगा वो 24 से 25 बिलियन डॉलर्स रहेगा पर मंथ. तो पूरे साल में 300 बिलियन डॉलर का हम डेफिसिट रहेंगे. 300 बिलियन डॉलर, ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी बॉस. अभी ये पैसा आएगा कहां से? ये पैसा जनरली 300 बिलियन डॉलर का जो डेफिसिट है, बोलेगा FI से आएगा, कोई बोलेगा FDI से आएगा, कोई बोलेगा कि हम बोरोइंग करेंगे. अभी उसका भी सिनेरियो हम देख लेते हैं. May 2020, March, April, Nifty was falling. May 2020 to September 2021, one of the golden period for Indian equity market. सब जगह पैसा ही पैसा था, कुछ भी कोई भी स्क्रिप्ट बाय करो हर दिन ऊपर. Why? Because FII were putting money, DII were putting money. $45 billion जो गोल्डन टाइम था वहां पे $45 बिलियन आए. फिर गोल्डन टाइम खत्म हो गया अक्टूबर के सितंबर के बाद से, जब फेड ने बोला कि हम लोग टेपरिंग करना स्टार्ट करेंगे. इन्फ्लेशन इज नॉट अ ट्रांजिटरी थिंग. अक्टूबर से लेके फेब तक 15 बिलियन साफ हो गया. अगर आप चार्ट देखेंगे 2021-22 में सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट सेलिंग हुआ है इन द हिस्ट्री, एंड द सेलिंग is gonna continue for the next 3 months. तो जो 300 बिलियन आने वाले थे इक्विटी मार्केट से, it looks gloomy. Now let us see FDI also. 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, FDI is falling. FDI भी conservative रहेगा. Why FDI will be conservative? Because of two reasons. अभी से लेके 2024 तक करीब करीब 10 स्टेट इलेक्शन है, 10 से 12 स्टेट इलेक्शन है, फिर लोकसभा इलेक्शन है. जब तक वहां का क्लैरिटी नहीं आएगा, अनसर्टेनिटी रहेगा, तब तक FDI will be very very cautious to invest in India. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि FDI नहीं आएंगे, but it will not be like 2020-21. They will be cautious, and when the liquidity is sucked globally, it is always a concern. तो FDI का भी फ्लो स्लो रहेगा. अब FII नहीं आएंगे, FDI नहीं आएंगे. फिस्कल डेफिसिट हायर, ट्रेड डेफिसिट हायर, सब एक ही चीज बोल रहे हैं कि फाइट है, इकोनॉमी के अंदर पे फाइट है. नाउ लेट अस सी व्हाट इज द बिग बुल ऑफ फॉरेक्स मार्केट थिंकिंग ऑन द फॉरेक्स साइड. इक्विटी मार्केट में देयर आर मेनी बिग बुल्स. फॉरेक्स मार्केट पे इंडिया में एक ही बिग बुल है, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया. उसके सोचते हैं वो क्या, उसका इंटेंशन क्या है. We all knew that 10 March को LIC, one of the biggest IPO Indian history, is gonna come. RBI 21 March को आता है, 21 Feb को आता है, कहता है they are going to do sell by swap of $5 billion. इसके बारे में भी एक हमने YouTube में वीडियो बनाया. हमारे जो क्लाइंट है उनको तो पता है, जो क्लाइंट्स प्रोस्पेक्ट है उनके लिए मैं ब्रीफ कर रहा हूँ कि उन्होंने ये जो सेल बाय स्वैप किया था, उसका जो डेट था वो एग्जैक्टली मैच कर रहा था आईपीओ के डेट से. उनका ये इंटेंशन था, ये अनाउंसमेंट का, कि अगर 5 से 6 बिलियन डॉलर आईपीओ का फ्लो आए तो दे विल ऑब्जर्व दैट ऑल द फ्लो एंड दे विल नॉट अलाउ रूपी टू अप्रिशिएट. तो उसका इंटेंशन वाज वेरी क्लियर. His action was speaking very very clear कि we will not allow rupee to appreciate. तो उसका इंटेंशन क्लियर हो गया कि appreciation is limited. Now let me tell you one more story. Last year इसका भी हमने एक YouTube वीडियो बनाया था. Those who want to view our YouTube video, they can type CR Forex. CR Forex हमारे सब वीडियोस है. Let me tell you one more story. Last year RBI had declared a bumper dividend. 99,000 करोड़ का डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर किया. मार्केट वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग 53,000 करोड़ का डिविडेंड देगा. 53,000 के बदले में 99,000 करोड़ का डिविडेंड दिया. ये जो एक्स्ट्रा पैसा आया वो कहां से आया? वो आया फॉरेक्स का ट्रेडिंग करके. लास्ट ईयर दे हैव चेंज द अकाउंटिंग मेथड. उसके पहले if the currency is getting depreciated, they will put that in revaluation reserve. They will not book a profit. For example, if the currency on a closing 2019 is at 64 level और वो 70 में बंद होता है, तो 6 रुपए का जो प्रॉफिट है वो रिवैल्यूएशन अकाउंट पे डालेंगे, उसका प्रॉफिट बुक नहीं होगा. लास्ट ईयर से उन्होंने अकाउंटिंग मेथड चेंज कर दिया है. वो पहला वाला जो अकाउंटिंग मेथड था वो बहुत सालों से था. लास्ट ईयर उन्होंने चेंज कर दिया. गवर्नमेंट ने बोला let us book the profit. Because of that accounting profit changes, if last year the currency has closed at 73.13 or 12, अगर इस साल 76 पे क्लोज होगा तो they will make money, and if it close at 77, they will gonna make more money, right? So their interest is that the currency should always, every year, they should get devalued. इसीलिए जो भी फ्लो आया they observe. तो ये दोनों चीज का समरी किया है कि आरबीआई होना बाय डॉलर रूपी. सब फैक्टर हमने देखा, सब वीकर रूपी को इंडिकेट कर रहा है. एक ही होप था रूपी अप्रिसिएशन के लिए, एलआईसी का आईपीओ. अभी वो भी अनसर्टन है. ये तो हो गया वीक रूपी वीक होगा. एवरीवन मस्ट बी थिंकिंग Okay, that is okay. But now, where the pair will head? So to answer this question, let us go back to history. वो अगर मैं फॉरेक्स कंसल्टेंट नहीं होता तो डेफिनेटली मैं हिस्ट्री पढ़ता या हिस्ट्री पढ़ाता. हिस्ट्री इज माय फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट. तो मैं बार बार हिस्ट्री में देखता हूँ. लेट अस गो एंड सी व्हाट हैज हैपेंड इन 2018. सिमिलर थिंग इज हैपनिंग दिस ईयर आल्सो. 2018 वो जो ट्रम्प साहब थे हमारे, उनको चाइना के साथ कुछ अलग ही मोहब्बत थी. तो उन्होंने चाइना के साथ में एक ट्रेड वॉर अनाउंस कर दिया. रिजल्टेंट क्या हुआ? डॉलर इंडेक्स जो था 88.5 पे, इट मूव टू 97.5. ब्रेंट ऑयल 62 से 86.5. डॉलर रुपी पेयर माइंड ब्लोइंग 63.5 से 74.5. 2013 का लो वो 68. 13 से 18 5 साल लगा डॉलर रुपी को अपना प्रीवियस लो तोड़ने के लिए. ये भी हो गया. मैं आपको ये स्टोरी इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि कहीं ना कहीं this time also we think that we are moving to that tangent only. Dollar index 89 to 98 already came. Crude oil 80 से 120. USD INR 73 से 76. One more interesting point. Last time भी जब 2018 पे ये डॉलर रुपी पेयर मूव हुआ था तो पहला 2 महीना था जो ट्रेड वॉर का, फेब से लेके मार्च अप्रैल तक, तब तक डॉलर रुपी वाज ट्रेडिंग इन अ फ्लैट रेंज ओनली 63 64 63 64 and then suddenly it moved higher. Basically the intention to tell you that for some time it might move in a range and then it can move higher. So now that is not the end of the world. तो ये हुआ. Anything which goes up comes down also. फेब से 2018 फेब से लेके नवंबर तक entire thing was going up and up. Everything was going up. Then नवंबर के अंदर पे OPEC came and OPEC said they are gonna increase the output of crude, and crude started falling down. And similarly, dollar rupee pair also started coming down from 74 to 64 level. Now where do we see USD INR pair in coming days? This is one of the important key takeaways from today's presentation. There is a 90 to 95% probability that in next 3 months, between March to May, dollar rupee का possible target is at 78 to 78.5 level. 78 to 70.5 level. And on the downside, 75 will act as a very, very strong support for the pair. बहुत सारे क्लाइंट सोच रहे होंगे 2018 का चार्ट दिखाया, 64 से 74 गया, ऐसा बोला, तो अभी 76 से 78.5 ही जाएगा, or it will go higher. Beyond that, is it possible? To answer that, yes, it is possible. But how much it will go up today, I will not be able to tell you that level. Whether it will go and stop at 80, whether it will go and stop at 82, whether it will go and stop at 78.5. That we have to evaluate on a day-to-day basis. In order to evaluate on a day-to-day basis, we have to keep watch on 3 action. Crude oil prices. If you see a sharp down move in crude oil prices, say for example $120 चल रहा है, and suddenly because of some announcement by USA or OPEC countries, it comes down to 100, we can estimate that the top is formed. Or DXY, which is currently trading at 98, it comes down below 95.5 level, then we can understand that the top in dollar index, crude and dollar rupee is formed. And then definitely post March, जब ये RBI का बुक क्लोज हो जाएगा, post March RBI का एक्शन हमको देखना है. Lot of people have asked us that RBI not intervening in the market. Yes, RBI is intervening in the market. 2018 में भी they were intervening, but how they are intervening? In the morning they will sell few $billion, and in the afternoon they will allow the pair to come up gradually. So they are intervening, but the pace is not like that they will come and sell $10 billion. ऐसा नहीं कर रहे हैं. 1 billion, आधा billion, 2 billion sell कर रहे हैं, and in the second part of the day the currency is moving higher. So they are intervening, but the pace is lesser. उससे objective क्या होता है? The rupee will depreciate, but the pace of rupee depreciation will be smoothened out. That is a fantastic job done by the Reserve Bank of India. They are containing the volatility. So now, what is the strategy for exporters? जो CR Forex हम जो client को advise करते हैं, we had divided the exporter into two buckets. One, thin margin exporter. Thin margin exporters कौन होते हैं? Agri exporter, chemical exporter, cotton exporter. They are generally traders. They have wafer thin margin. Generally, they take costing close to spot, and they have a spotter payment cycle, 30 to 45 days ka. Generally, the hedge policy what we recommend them is to cover between 70 to 100% of their exposure depending on the view. Now, in the current scenario, अगर हम last 4-5 दिन का बात करेंगे, तो their order must be between 75 to 75.50 और maximum 75.75. तो जब PPT बनाया था, तब हमने बोला था कि 75.90 से लेके 76.30 पे they will sell 70%, and for remaining they can keep a stop loss of 75.25. But the current levels have increased, so now they can keep a stop loss of 75.75 instead of 75.25. ये जो thin margin exporters होते हैं, they have to cover on generally on an everyday basis. They have to take call. If you want to know the clear strategy, then you can log into our YouTube channel. On a weekly basis, we shoot the video. What they should do. We cannot give them a bigger term view because markets are volatile. Now let us move to thick margin exporters. Thick margin exporters like textile exporter, pharma exporter, engineer, IT. They are generally manufacturers. उनके एक decent margins होते हैं. They take costing below spot. अगर आज spot 75 है, they will take a costing of 73, and their payment cycles are longer, 90 days to 150 days. उनके लिए we generally advise them to maintain a hedge ratio between 40 to 60%. Currently, we are advising them not to book forwards from last 8-10 days because we are anticipating a higher level, and we are advising them not to be on a lower end of the hedge ratio. 40-45% पे ही रहे. Do not go and increase your hedge ratio because dollar rupee pair might move higher level. Higher level जो मैंने लिखा 77, 78 is a possible target. So they have to wait with a stop loss. Currently, they can wait with a stop loss of 75.25. Now, this is one of the most important key takeaways from today's presentation. Please, इसको note करिएगा. थोड़ा पानी पी लेते हैं. टू 2007-8 का क्राइसिस, 2013 का क्राइसिस, 2018 का क्राइसिस एंड 2020 का क्राइसिस. ये 4 क्राइसिस मैंने अपने आंखों से देखे. In all the 4 crises, I have understood one thing, कि whenever there is a global crisis, then there are higher chances that the currency, dollar rupee pair, will depreciate by say 7 rupees, 10 rupees, 12 rupees. ऐसा depreciate करता है. Definitely, over a period of time, RBI has become stronger. RBI का reserves बढ़ गया है. But saying that there are high chances that the currency can weaken by 3 rupees, 4 rupees, or 5 rupees. We have to keep a close eye on Russia-Ukraine crisis, dollar index, and crude. And in all of this crisis, I have learned two things. कि कोई भी thin margin exporters है, agri exporter है, वो सोचेंगे कि भाई the currency was at 73.5 level, currently at 76.5 level. I will book 120% of my order. मत करिएगा सर. Please do not do that. If you do that, you're gonna be in a trouble. This is not a year where you should do more than your order. Maximum आपको अच्छा level लगता है तो you get 100%. Do not fall in that trap. What we have fallen in 2008. Do not sell more than your orders. Why? Because if you sell at 76 and think that the currency might come down, the currency might go to 78. If you sell at 78, the currency might go to 80 also. और उस टाइम पे you have to quote to your buyer at the current spot level and the currency is weakened. So do not do that. Do not overhedge. That is one request to all thin margin exporters. Second, thick margin exporters. You know, a lot of client has been calling me from last 3-4 days saying that the banks are advising that, you know, अच्छा level है sir, 76 पे 3 रुपये का प्रीमियम है, 75 पे 3 रुपये का प्रीमियम है, 74.50 पे 3 रुपये का प्रीमियम है. Please go and book some long term forward contract. Please go and increase your hedge ratio. अच्छा level है, अच्छा level है. Do not fall in that trap. Keep a close eye on three things. Again, DXY, crude oil, RBI, and Russia-Ukraine prices. This is not a year where you think that acha level and you sell. We have advised that to do client in second part of 2020, but do not do for some time. Wait, let the dust get settled down. Uske baad kariye. A special request to importers that go and buy your imports hedge. Now let me tell them, importers ke liye, do not wait. The only mantra is to, on every dips you have to buy. If you are lucky and if you get 76, go and buy at 76 for the next 45 to 50 days. Importers can do two things. They can buy forward. Those who are not willing to buy forwards, they think that the currency might appreciate because of any reason, they can buy at the money call option and sell out of the money put option. For details, you can connect with my team. Now, let us move to the third part of the presentation. Lot of exporters have asked us that in the absence of interest rate subvention, हमको क्या करना चाहिए? हमको PCFC लेना चाहिए or we should take PCINR. So I tell them we have to evaluate in two ways. First, we have to evaluate the cost. Second, we have to evaluate the view on the currency. Now let us check the first part first, which is interest rate cost. When the subvention was there, generally you get EPC close to 7.5 to 9.5 के बीच में. Average market rate is 8%. Subvention was either 3% or 5%. So, and the forward premium is close to 4%. If you are an exporter and if you are getting subvention and you are booking a forward, your net interest cost was -1%. PCFC was 2%. So it was a no-brainer that go for EPC. Now the scenario has changed. Subvention chala gaya. Now PCFC is costing you 2%. PCINR is costing you 4%. So generally people will say, let me go and take PCFC, boss. ये इतना simple नहीं है. Do not just calculate the interest rate, because the 2%, if the currency devalue, you will lose that 2%. So the second most important thing is you have to view on the currency. If the view is that the currency is gonna move from 73 to 79, then take EPC. If the view is that the currency will come from 79 to 73, then go and take PCFC. ये generic चीज है. जो smart treasuries है, वो क्या करते हैं? They take PCFC also and they book forward also. Let me tell you how. there are a lot of exporters which have asked me, जो generally in the range of 50 to 300 crore exporter होते हैं, which are upcoming exporter. They say PCFC and forward, how we can do that? We cannot do that. Let me explain that to them, how PCFC and forward they can do. When you take a PCFC, say you have taken a PCFC of $1 lakh, the bank will give you $1 lakh in your account. Now, when you receive a $1 lakh in your account, just imagine that an inward remittance has come from your client. Just imagine like that. So once you have an inward remittance, हम क्या करते हैं? We can either convert it on and take a rate on spot basis or cash basis, or we can use a forward. So similarly, PCFC can also be used with forward. Now, if you do that, then you save little more money. In the earlier scenario, with PC INR and subvention and forward premium, the interest rate were close to -1%. If you do that, PCFC and forward, then the interest rate can become negative by -2%, which is little higher than the earlier policy. So it is a recommendation to all exporters that they can take PCFC and forward if they are not getting subvention. Now, if you are doing that, वो कहते हैं कि if you are getting a negative interest rate, you have to be little cautious also. The condition in this case is if you have an order of $10 lakh, then forward plus PCFC should not be more than 10 lakhs. If forward plus PCFC is more than 10 lakhs, then you are overhedged. And if the currency devalues, you will have a trouble. So ये एक cautious note है. If any exporter who is doing that, they should take this into account, that their PCFC plus forward should not be exceeding more than the order. If at any point of time, if it is increasing, then there is a currency risk involved है. So ये आपको check करना है. I know it's a little difficult to understand, but if you have any doubts at the end of the presentation, I will definitely come back to that. Now, let us move to, let me share few ideas where you can save cost by negotiating with your exporter, with your bank. Generally, we have seen that बहुत सारे client हम meeting करने जाते हैं, वो client कहते हैं whenever the money comes, we just go and take a cash rate. So I tell them, whenever you are going and taking on a cash rate, you should evaluate one thing. First, you should check what is the cash pot the bank is giving you. Suppose if the bank is giving you a cash pot of 4 paisa, that is nothing but the interest for 4 days. Say if the 4 days or 2 days, depending on how many days are coming in between. Friday होगा तो 4 days हो जाएगा, Monday को होगा तो 2 days होगा. So that 3 paisa, if there is a cash pot of 3 paisa for 2 days at 75.5 ka rate pe, the annualized interest cost becomes 7.3%. And if your average funding cost is at 2%, then it is better not to go for a cash rate. Go for spot rate. अगर आपका average funding cost 7.5 है, then you can say, okay, boss, I'm paying a higher interest cost, so let me take a cash rate. So this evaluation is very, very important. Now, I think few people are raising hands. I will definitely answer them at the end of the session. Definitely going to answer them. Now, if you are this is dollar rupee. If you are an exporter where you receive money in euro and pound, वहाँ पे तो the costs are much higher. Cash pot is minimum 5 to 6 paisa. In that case, the annualized interest cost is close to 13% and 10.5%. So there, so definitely you should take spot trade. Now, let us move to one more point. We have received a lot of mails we have received a lot of calls from a lot of exporters. वो कहते हैं कि whenever they are pre-utilizing their forward, the bank is charging them EDC cost, मतलब early delivery charges charge करते हैं. And there are many incidents where we had given a letter to the bank saying that कि आपने जो EDC चार्ज किया है वो बहुत ज्यादा है, आप रिवर्सल लीजिए. तो there is a small request. Every exporters nowadays are early utilizing the forward contract. So they must tell their team that they should check their EDC cost. Now let me explain you the mechanism of EDC cost. EDC charges जो है वो दो पार्ट पे है. एक swap point है पहला वाला, दूसरा वाला interest cost है. Interest cost I will explain in second part of the PPT. पहले part of the PPT पे खाली swap point है. आप खाली इसको सिंपल तरीके से मैं आपको समझाता हूँ. अगर आपके पास में एक फॉरवर्ड है 31 मई का और फॉरवर्ड का रेट है 77.5, अगर आप ये एक स्क्रीनशॉट कल का है बेसिकली, अगर आपने कल डिसाइड किया होता डे बिफोर yesterday if you have decided that I want to use this forward, आपने CR Forex की टीम को कॉल किया होगा, CR Forex को पूछा होगा कि भाई व्यू क्या है, उन्होंने कहा होगा कि व्यू इज ऑन द अपसाइड, so let us use the forward. So they must have told you to use the forward. And if you have used the forward, then swap point क्या क्या होता है? पहला कैश पॉट होता है जो हमने ये ऑरेंज कलर का मार्क किया है at the upper part of the screen. That was 4.5 पैसा. So that is for one cost. Second, import साइड का जो प्रीमियम है, नॉट एक्सपोर्ट साइड का प्रीमियम, इंपोर्ट साइड का जो प्रीमियम है that is 77 पैसा. तो combining 77 and 4.5 paisa, total cost is 81.5. Net rate what you would have got at 76.68, which is definitely better than the spot rate which was available yesterday. So you decided to take this forward utilization and close to 50-60 paisa you have made by using the forward. Now you have to check that बैंक ने 81,500 ही EDC चार्ज किया है कि नहीं. Some bank will debit upfront, some bank will debit afterward. Those bank like UCO Bank, Bank of Baroda, if they generally debit afterwards. So if they are debiting afterwards, check that whether they have deducted 81,500 or not. If they have deducted more, you have a right to ask them. Safety के लिए, when we tell our clients for a few they are dealing with few PSU bank, for a safety purpose, when you are utilizing a forward contract, you must take a screenshot of CR Forex screen and keep it with you so that there is no ambiguity while you are negotiating with the bank. And definitely we have historical rates available also at CR Forex portal. Now, that is the first cost. Second cost, ये interest cost है. This few banks are taking, few banks are not taking. Now you will say why few banks are taking and few banks are not taking. That is a problem with the FDI language. All PSU banks are charging interest rate. Few private banks are not charging. Few foreign banks are not charging. Now, then there will be a question that why this difference? What we can do? We have tried a lot. We have called FDI. We have called RBI. We have mailed them. FDI says that they will not listen to consultant. They will only listen to bank. When we go and tell the bank, they do not want to entertain us because उनको तो पैसा मिल रहा है. Now let us understand how the interest rate का calculation होगा. आपको ये interest rate जो charge होता है, that is charged on the profit. ठीक है? तो आपको compare profit कैसे करेंगे? Compare forward rate you have got is 76.68 का. So net rate comes to 76.68. If you convert $1 lakh, you will get 76,68,500. If you have taken money on the spot, you would have got 75.91. So between the forward rate and the spot rate, that is a difference. That comes to 77,500. Bank will charge you interest rate on how many days you have early utilized. How many days you have early utilized. Say from 3rd March to 31st May, early utilize किया आपने 89 days का. So they will charge you 89 days पे interest cost, which is close to 8% to 9%. Industry standard है. Some banks are taking 12% also. We cannot do anything on that. So 8 to 9% general rate hai. So the interest cost comes to 1,500. So total cost they have to charge is 83,000 close to. This calculator we have. If anyone wants, they can take it from our team. Now, lot of time, lot of exporters has been saying me that, the banks are charging me higher rates. They are not giving us proper rate. So they say that whether we should change bank. My general submission is that they should not change bank. Changing bank is generally not a right and prudent business decision. Because when you are dealing with a particular bank for 8 years, 10 years, all your data are with them. That data is like an asset. If you go or PSU bank pe hai, if you tell them that boss, I want to have an ad hoc limit of 2 crore, it becomes very easy. If you change bank constantly, then that asset is turning to liability. And I have understood one thing in last 20 years, that older the relationship with the bank, it is beneficial. It is just like a wine. जितना wine पुराना होता है उतना अच्छा है. ये भी ऐसा ही है. And in my experience, 95% of the time, bankers are cooperative. If you negotiate with them in the right manner, they will definitely gonna listen. And अगर वो negotiate, आप negotiate करते हैं, and you're not able to convince, then what you should do? You should hire expert like us, which will help them to negotiate on different costs what you pay to the bank. Generally, जो exporter या importer होते हैं, they only compare interest cost, but there are definitely other costs which they ignore. So they should definitely hire an expert like CR Forex, which can help them to negotiating cost with their banker. In CR Forex, we have a service called treasury audit. In the audit, we do 2 things. Pehla, we will see what kind of charges they are putting in your sanction letter. If we think that the cost, what they have written in the sanction letter, is on a higher side, then we will educate the client, and then we will go and negotiate with the on behalf of the client. That is the first thing what we do in the audit. Second thing what we do in the audit is when we do a past verification. In the past verification, हम क्या करते हैं, जो भी उन्होंने कॉस्ट लिख के दिए सैंक्शन लेटर पे, if they have said that they will charge you interest at 8.5%, they are going to charge you processing fee 0.35%. So you will go and historically verify that whether they have charged you debt or not. If they have charged you more, then we will go and take reversal. एक client है हमारे, अभी recently we have done an audit for them, and the reversal amount was close to 53 lakhs rupees. बैंक ने उनको सबवेंशन नहीं दिया, प्रोसेसिंग फीस एक बार नहीं 3 बार काट लिया. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे एरर करते हैं बैंक. So we go and do that audit and we make a reversal for the client. Now with this, I will end my presentation, and we can start the question and answer round.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very insightful presentation, quite engaging, a lot more to learn for everyone. For everyone who's watching us on Zoom, please raise your hand. We'll allow you to unmute yourself so that you can ask your question directly to Mr. Amit. For anyone who's watching us on YouTube or LinkedIn, you could post your question in the chat section, and we will ask the question on your behalf. We'll take a few seconds for this.
Right.
Again, just a small announcement. We'll start the Q&A section now. If you have any questions to ask Mr. Amit, you could unmute, or you could probably raise your hand and we can unmute you so that you can ask your question directly to Mr. Pabari. Okay.
Some chats are coming.
Yeah, I have Mr. Sanjay Gupta whose hand has been raised. I'm going to unmute him. I'm unable to unmute him. Yeah.
Yes, Sanjay ji, you can ask your question. Or if there is a
Hello.
Yes, Sanjay ji. Yes, Sanjay ji.
Sir, in early delivery charges, outlet is negative. मतलब करंट रेट बिलो रेट आ रहा है मेरा, अगर अर्ली डिलीवरी कर रहे हैं हम, तो उस केस में बैंक विल रिफंड द इंटरेस्ट और चार्जिंग नॉट चार्जिंग?
नहीं, अगर वो नेगेटिव है, मतलब अगर आप जो फॉरवर्ड यूज कर रहे हैं and with the forward the net rate is below the current spot rate at that point of time, the bank negative in bank abhi interest dega nahi sir, you have to take it zero only.
Okay, in that case no interest will be charged.
No interest will be charged. Negative interest rate है तो you can say zero. जो नंबर हमें 1500 आया था उसके बदले में अगर वो नेगेटिव 1500 है तो you can take it zero. Bank will never pay you money.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, yes, Sanjay ji.
Nice session, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you.
We'll let Mr. Satyanarayan speak now. Mr. Satyanarayana, sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, good evening. A very exciting session. Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, exciting to hear your elaboratively and what is implications and intricacies involving for last year and this year also. Thank you very much for guiding. Every day, once in 2 or 3 days, Vaibhav is advising excellently. We are the export of garments. We are setting up forward contract. What my question is, early realization I got doubt, but FAP rate, whenever early realizations, the same day bank is not informing the exact FAP rate. So only afterwards only we are knowing what rate we are getting FAP rate, whether we are blindly following some principles for 1 month for 25 price like that, or if in some other calculations whether we are getting profit or loss, on basing on that only we are EDC we are booking. Otherwise, what is the same rate if we have to know it, that FAP rate, what is the procedure, whether bankers has to invariably to inform us the exact FAP rate, because they have to cover it a forward rate. Suppose 1 year EDC, if you cancellation around 6 months, again, whatever you are circulating your chart, on basing that we are arriving. But bankers only after 1 week or something they are communicating. It is bit confusion. So whether we are correctly doing, or sometimes even if thin margin is there, you may be loss also. Instead of if you go for spot rate, we can get profit. So this is bit confusion is there. That point you please guide me. And another second point is, now is dollar is strong, rupee is weakened due to the prevailing situations.
Right.
Yeah, for spot rate, which is something today we have received inward remittances, and instead of EDC for 1 year ago, we have booked long period. We have booked. So EDC that we are using, or otherwise, can I go for the spot rate, because the 76 around is there today? Something nothing difference is there, but in that case, how I act? And another one is, suppose my exports are 200, our people is advising that better to go 40% of forward contract is covered, better to. Whether if you, in this scenario, can I go beyond, or I have to restrict up to 40% of total exports? These are our 3 questions. Please clarify.
Right. So the first question was that the bank is giving you EDC, whatever the EDC they are charging you, they're giving you after 7 days, right? So, and you are not knowing exact EDC cost. So I think you are taking rates from your branch. You are not contacting your treasury. So one of the most important thing is that you should know the EDC cost on the same day only. The bank should, you should have a talk with the direct treasury, and your team should confirm that I am utilizing this forward contract. What is the swap point and what is the cash pot you're going to charge? And then that cash pot and that swap point that you should verify with CR Forex live take a screen. And if the banks are deviating from the swap point and premium, then you can negotiate. So on that day only, when you are utilizing a forward contract, on that day only you should know, because premiums do change every day, na? Every hour also they change. So it is very important that you do it on a live basis. अगर ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है, if that is not happening, then definitely you have to write a letter to your bank and make this happen. If you have any issues in that, my team can help you in solving these issues. That is number one. Second thing, you said that today you have received some money, and whether to convert it on the spot basis, cash basis, or use a forward. Sir, to answer this question, I need some more details, like what kind of forwards you have with you, what kind of costing you have taken while you have taken an order, when are the forwards due, whether they are due in the current month or whether they are due afterwards. Without this, I will not be able to answer accurately, but as the view is on the higher side, it is better that we use our forward, so that when the currency moves towards say 76.5 or 77 level, at that point of time we can book forwards. That is a generic view based on whatever information you have shared. For detailed analysis, you can speak with my team. Third, your question was generally you are following some kind of a hedge policy, where if you have a total turnover of 200 crore, you will book 40% of your export. And probably you want to understand what kind of hedge ratio we should maintain. At CR Forex, if you are a textile exporter, unke liye the policy is between 40% to 60%. 40% on the lower side, 60% on the higher side. We might deviate also from 40 at times when we are very sure that the currency gonna weaken at a very higher pace. Then we take a board approval and we might reduce it to 35% also. In current scenario, if you keep your hedge ratio between 40 to 45% and keep a stop loss of say 75-25 or 75-50 for further forward booking, that is good enough, sir. You should not cover at a higher hedge ratio. You should be staying at the lower hedge ratio formula only. So a lower end of the hedge ratio only, because the view is on the weaker rupee pair. I hope I have clear your question.
Only thing is that EDC same rate I got doubt is once I talked with our mid corporate branch where we are dealing in the local branch, they are telling
you are dealing with which bank, sir?
Union Bank of India.
And you are from which part of India? Which city you are below?
Yeah, Vijayawada.
You can get in touch with our team. They will definitely help you. We have few clients who are dealing with Union Bank of India. They will help you to set up the process.
Thank you for your valuable inputs.
Right, sir. Right.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll move on to our next question. I'll let Mr. Khan speak. Mr. Khan, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, I've done. Hello.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi, sir. Shahrukh Khan from Nifty Global.
Hello, Shahrukh Khan ji, कैसे हैं आप?
Sir, I have 3 questions with you.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, one question is last day forward booking is good or not, sir?
Acha. Okay. That is the first question. Second question.
Second question is booking today is good as you say कि dollar maybe go for 78, 75 because the 76.16 is nearby high, all time high.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And last question is forward premium.
Forward premium में क्या question है सर आपका?
फॉरवर्ड प्रीमियम जैसे डाउन हो रहा है तो इट मे बी पॉसिबल कि लास्ट इक्वलिटी का आ सकता है नहीं, जैसे लास्ट में कुछ में लास्ट मंथ में 4% से ऊपर था।
राइट। पहला क्वेश्चन का आंसर है कि अगर आप मंथ एंड बुकिंग करते हो तो if you are directly dealing with the bank direct treasury then it is good. आपको क्लियर कट पता रहता है कि भाई कितना बैंक स्वैप पॉइंट चार्ज करेगा. And if you have a CR Forex screen or any consultant screen, then you can verify and you can calculate. If you do not have direct treasury access और आपको forward premium कितना है वो पता नहीं है, in that case you can do a mix of monthly booking 1 to 38 और 15 to 38 ऐसा करके बुक कर सकते हैं and month end booking कर सकते हैं. So it depends on how aware you are in terms of getting the rates. That is the first question. Second question, अगर आप exporter है अभी के time पे as the crisis is going on, crude oil prices are moving higher, then what we are telling exporter that you keep a stop loss and wait. You keep a stop loss and wait. जैसे अगर आज morning में it opened close to 76, so we told exporter that we will not cover. We keep a stop loss of 75. अगर 75 के नीचे जाते हैं तब देन यू कैन पार्टिसिपेट एंड बुक. ठीक है. एंड ये तो व्यू है, बट डेफिनेटली यू हैव टू हैव अ हेज पॉलिसी आल्सो. आपकी कंपनी का टर्नओवर क्या है, आपके मार्जिन्स क्या है, उसको भी आपको इवेल्युएट करना पड़ेगा. बट सेइंग दैट इफ यू अगर आपका पॉलिसी ऐसा है कि हम मिनिमम 40% कवर करते हैं या मिनिमम 70% करते हैं, तो जो भी आपका पॉलिसी है तो वो मिनिमम का जो साइड है वहीं पे रहे, क्योंकि द आउटलुक इज ऑन द अपर साइड एंड वेट विद द स्टॉप लॉस. ये ऐसा करेंगे तो आपको अच्छे लेवल्स मिलेंगे. दैट इज आंसर टू योर सेकंड क्वेश्चन. थर्ड, आपने पूछा प्रीमियम जो है वो डाउन होंगे क्या. उसका आंसर है डेफिनेटली प्रीमियम विल कम डाउन. उसका रीजन है जो प्रीमियम लास्ट वीक में बढ़ भी गए थे बिकॉज ऑफ आरबीआई सेल बाय स्वैप. उसका भी हमने वीडियो अपलोड किया है यूट्यूब पे, आप देख सकते हैं. पर अभी वो LIC का IPO आ नहीं रहा है तो डेफिनेटली दे हैव टू अनवाइंड दैट सेल बाय स्वैप. उसके कारण प्रीमियम कम होंगे. ये एक रीजन है. दूसरा, देयर इज मार्केट इज एंटिसिपेटिंग दैट द फेड विल इंक्रीज रेट एट मच हायर पेस एंड इन इंडिया जो RBI है they will not increase interest rate with that pace. Because of that, the interest rate differential will come down and the premium will come down.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. I'm just going to take a few questions more from our chat section. Meanwhile, if you have a question to ask Mr. Amit, you could probably raise your hands. Okay. So we have a question from Mr. Ruchir Mashru. He's asking you, sir, can you please explain the best way to use PCFC and book forward? Should it be the same amount?
नहीं, वापस से रिपीट करिए क्वेश्चन.
Can you explain the best way to use PCFC and book forward? Should it be the same amount?
To answer this, it depends on, first thing, it depends on the view. What is the view on the currency? First thing. Second, you have to evaluate that आपका order, say if it is 10 lakhs, then PCFC plus forward has to be combinedly not more than 10 lakhs. If you are doing more than 10 lakhs, then it is a risk to the corporate.
Okay. I think one of your client has this question, which I can see is getting posted here in the chat section.
Okay.
Where is gold going to move towards? Will it move about 2,000 in dollar terms or 54,000 in MCX term?
Generally they say that during crisis time, DXY gets stronger and gold also gets stronger. Even we thought that the gold will move towards 2050 level, but we have to be a little cautious on the gold. Why? Because if we are putting a lot of sanction, if USA is putting a lot of sanction to Russia, then उनको जो वॉर का खर्चा करना है उसके लिए पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? अगर उनका रिजर्व देखते हैं $630 बिलियन है, करीब करीब 18% डॉलर है, 22% यूरो है, 30% पाउंड चाइनीज यॉन है और बाकी का गोल्ड है, तो करीब करीब 18-20% गोल्ड है. Now if you see the news 2 days back, they said they will buy gold from local public of Russia. So basically they are gonna sell their gold reserves to fight for the war. So we are not very bullish on the gold. ऐसा नहीं है कि gold will move towards say 2200 or 2150 levels, but you can see a slow and gradual upside on gold. But we have to be very cautious on the gold, because if Russia is selling gold, then they will definitely gonna sell to China. If they are selling to China, then definitely China will play some kind of a trick to reduce the gold prices. So on gold, we have to be cautious. As Russia, to fund their budget of war, they will sell gold. So on gold, we have to be cautious, not very bullish.
Okay. So also, how do you see FII withdrawals? And probably how do you also see the equity market perform over the next 3 to 6 months?
FII के लिए the bigger challenge is that as the Fed will do tapering and as the geopolitical tension are increasing, what will happen? That money का जो liquidity है, that will get absorbed. FII across FII are selling from equity and they are moving to bonds. Specifically, they are investing in US bond. So probably Nifty, we can see levels of 15,700 or 15,500 in next 3 to 6 months. Overall outlook for equity market is negative only.
Okay, I think one last question, and a question which a lot of people would want to ask you is, where do you see the USD INR USD cross 80 in the coming days?
Euro USD का आप कह रहे हैं 80 जाएगा?
मैं पूछ रही हूँ आपसे.
Right. Euro USD जो देखिए Euro INR 80 जाएगा कि नहीं उसका आंसर देना डिफिकल्ट है. नहीं, USD INR पूछ रहे, क्या पूछ रहे मैडम आप?
I'm asking whether USD
giving a level is really difficult, whether it will go to 80 or not, because when you give a level of say 80, then the next question will be which year it will go, whether it will go this year or whether it will go next year. But saying that, I will not be able to give you the number. There are high chances that in next 6 months to 1 year, definitely dollar rupee pair will weaken from the current level. 80 भी जा सकते हैं, chances है.
Okay. I think that's most of the questions that I have. Just quickly checking if we have any raised hands. No, we don't. So we shall probably end the webinar with this. That's all the time also we have today. Thank you, Mr. Pabari, once again for being a part of Drip Capital's webinar and for sharing your knowledge with our fellow exporters. It was extremely helpful. I have definitely learned a few more things, and I'm sure our community did too. Thank you for all our viewers for joining and participating in today's webinar. You will receive a short survey once we end this session. Request you all to share your valuable feedback and topics that you want to hear from us. It is important for us to hear from you so that we could organize similar knowledge sessions. Also, if you want to go back to see some of our previous webinar or on CR Forex, you should definitely check out each of our pages on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels and looking forward to the next webinar. Thank you so much, sir.
Right.
Have a great evening. Goodbye, everyone. Please stay safe.
Jai Hind. Namaskar. Thank you.